Hello and welcome to another creative process video. In this video, I wanted to talk about my experience at the Banff Center for the Arts and Creativity. I was accepted in the Musicians in Residency program, which took place in January. It's a residency of 3 weeks. And what you get with this residency is a place to stay and a personal studio where you can create. My goal for the future is to be a bit less in the internet or less internet focused. So I think I've done enough live sessions to show what I can do, and I have a pretty big portfolio of videos online. And so what I'd like to do now is travel more, collaborate with people in real life, and see places. So in this optic, I started applying to residencies. And this residency was the first one I was accepted at. And so a month before going to this residency, I took a look at my modular synth, which is pretty big. I shrunk it down, I got rid of some modules, got to the essential, and mostly I got a new sampler, which is the SP44 MK2, to load my sounds in. So now I can have my modular synth, my sampler, my sound card, and my computer in my backpack. This for me was essential because if I start traveling more, I don't want to lose my important things at the airport. So that's what I did before going to Banff. So that's the setup I was going to explore at Banff. So the first day arriving at Banff, I discovered that I had to do a performance. We were 32 participants in this program, and we had 3 shows to prepare, divided in the participants. So I volunteered to play first on the first show, which was 5 days after the arrival, because I wanted to get rid of the performance and so I could focus on other stuff. But because I had changed my setup completely, what I had done in the past for past shows had to be redone or rebuilt with this new setup. So the first week I was a bit intense. I would go to my studio from about 9 a.m. till 2 or 3 a.m. And first of all, I set up my stuff as best as I can for this performance. And then I just started trying to create a small show. I only had to play 15 minutes, but I also volunteered to do the ambient music while people were walking in, which ended up being 20 minutes. So I had 35 minutes of music to prepare. So what I decided to do is use the tracks from an album I'm working on that's not released to create some new ambiences and create a new show, a new 15-minute show. So I started doing this and then adding textures and layers, and just started sending sound into the room, recording this new sound just to create more layers for me to play with while improvising the music. For the 20-minute ambient thing at the beginning of the show, I cheated a bit and I simply loaded full songs that I had already recorded into my sampler, and I just played with the effects. I did this because I didn't have time to create more new music. So that was my first week's focus. I practiced this. I was pretty stressed about it because it was also viewed as some sort of showcase, and so I wanted to play my best for that performance. So this first week passed, do the show, everything went fine. And so Saturday I took a break because the week was pretty intense for me. And on Sunday morning, everything clicked in my head, and I just knew how I was going to use the space I had as a studio and what I would be doing for this residency. So I started resetting up my stuff. So I had a grand piano, and I had also brought Micro Granny, which is a granular synth sampler. So I placed Micro Granny inside the piano. Micro Granny has a mic, so I could directly record the piano into this mic. of the Micro Granny. And then Micro Granny would go into my modular setup where I could add effects. I had FX Aid on a delay mode, and I have two FX Aid actually. So at first I was using them in chain, but what I preferred through time was to have one on each side. So using each delay as a mono delay, but different. That way I had control on different times and it sounded more organic and lush having two FX Aids on each side. This was my studio space in Banff. I placed it this way so that I could have the view of the mountains through the window. And all the time that I was composing, either on the piano or the drums, I would look at the window and try to imagine how the mountains perceive us. They gave me a grand piano, some drums, some preamps, a mixer, a PA system, and an amp and a synth. I brought my cymbals and my synths. So I had the SP44 MK2 and my modular synth with the QNexus and Micro Granny. I didn't want to close mic any instruments except the drums. The goal was really to capture the sound in a space. I started doing this process in a loop. So record piano textures, downsample with Micro Granny, send into my FX station, reamp into the room. Capture that sound in the computer, pitch that sound down or stretch. Send it back into the PA and play on top. And so now I was playing on top of this new texture and recording this sound, so the piano and the room, back into Micro Granny, sending it back into my modular synth, back in the computer, new sound, pitch it down, and do the same thing over and over again. And while I was doing this, I was also walking around the room, touching the drums. So I did this to add movement or a physical body in the recordings in order to really capture like a human space. And so you can hear me in the textures walking around, and you can hear the others practicing their sound getting into my sound. You can hear cars passing by, you can hear all of this. And I had as a first goal trying to make 2 of these per day. So 2 things that not necessarily I liked, but I just would finish. And once I had a really dense texture that I liked, I would start playing drums on top. For this, sometimes I played drums while the sound was leaking into all the mics, and sometimes I put my headphones on so that I would have an isolated drum sound. So I started doing that. Also as intense as the first week, so staying up until 2 or 3 a.m. because that's when all the other people left the building, so I had complete silence. For the drums, since it's not my drum kit and I didn't have all my percussions, actually I had only brought three cymbals, I started down pitching the overheads in a glitchy way. So in Ableton, if you pitch down, you have different warp options. And so I would play with that in order to have a more textural sound or something that fit better in the textures that I was doing in the room. And I mostly use the middle mic also and the kick. And also for the textures that I was reamping in the room, I always had all the mics open. So even though that main mic above the piano was what I used the most for the textures, sometimes I would use the snare mic, sometimes I'd use the kick mic or the overheads. And since these were not placed to record the room or the PA, there was a lot of noise in it because the volume was very low. So when I would boost it up, I'd get more noise, and then I could play around with that also. It was just other textures. And it was really fun to, when mixing, place the different mics at different spots and use that to give a new sense of space. What I like to do in this room was that I could make a space bigger, make a space make no sense. So like a space in a space in a space, or what is inside the room could be bigger than the room. And throughout this residency, we had to repetitively say what we're doing, why we're doing it. And it really made me realize that for years now, I've been trying to anchor sounds in space. And so I always include something that connects to a physical space or time in my music. And I've said it before that I personify the drums in my music. So the drums is always me, and textures is life. It made me realize that in my music, there's not often rhythms on which the drums can latch onto, which is, I think, how I feel in life, where I don't have necessarily anything to latch onto. I don't have any anchors. I just feel like I'm floating through. And so the fact that I'm constantly trying to anchor stuff is me trying to add points in time on which I can grip or identify with. And so each recording I do, there's a reason why I try to capture the space and time so that when I listen to it again in the future, I know exactly where and when it was. It gives me a sense of, I think it's in a sense to ground me, and that's it. And what I mean is that this residency made me understand what my artistic process is and what it has been for years. So anyways, I started doing 2 of these a day, and so after a week, I had a lot. And as I was doing it, I was also mixing, because before sending sound into the room again, every time I did it, I'd mix it in the computer and then send it back. And so after a week, I realized I had an album and it was almost mixed. And so I decided that that was the purpose of this residency, this album, which is this time and place, which I captured in sound. After that, I took a break for a day, and initially I wanted to use the last week to do as many live sessions as I could. I was thinking I could probably make 20-30 videos if I didn't sleep and really worked. I just asked myself why I wanted to do that, and I think I wanted to do it for the internet and not for myself. So I decided to not do that. So I spent the 2 or 3 first days of the last week to complete the mixing of this album, and then I decided I was done. And I tried to use the rest of that week to connect with the other people and try to enjoy where I was. So parallel to my personal thing, the most amazing thing about Banff was the other artists. On the first week, nobody knew each other, but we had a lot of sharing circles where we could speak about ourselves and what we're trying to do. And at the first sharing circle, of course, everybody said something like, I'm here to work on music, or I want to create an album. But after the second sharing circle, everybody seemed to have a secret reason for being there. Rather, like, it was much more of an interior quest than an outside musical quest. And from that moment on, everybody started bonding together and being very open, sharing, supportive. I've never had this experience before where people can listen so much, genuinely support. And so Starting in the second week, everybody started collaborating with each other. So that second show became collaborations, like duos and trios of people played together. And the last week, the last show was full bands. So 7, 8-piece bands, everybody working together. And everybody was from a different style of music and different background, which made it that it was super easy to find solutions for each other. So if you're speaking to a singer-songwriter or a rap artist or somebody from the classical world or improviser, these people have different perspectives on life and on music. And so what they have to say about your music is very important and different to how you see it. So it was easy to simply ask a question or say, hey, I need help with this. And you would have all the support group with different opinions to help you find the right solution for yourself. And parallel to what I was doing in the last week, I just started filming live sessions for anybody that wanted to record something. So I had brought this camera, which is my good camera. And so we recorded a live session in a hut, live session in a stairwell, a drum video for somebody. I recorded all the shows, and I just tried to make the last week about being there and bonding with the other people, which I don't know if there will ever be a place where we're all together again. Just to try and enjoy the moment of all these people being in the same room. And it was also great that at any point you could say, hey, I want to do this, record this, blah, blah, blah. And people would say, yeah, sure, let's go. And so in a matter of minutes, you could have a team of singer, guitar, piano, with a recording team and somebody to do video, and let's go do your live sessions. And it was really good to have this kind of support system or community support to affect everybody's projects. And so for me, this was a life-changing experience. I recommend it to anybody that would like to go and focus on their music, but also I think this might be one of the rare residencies where it's really a big group of people together. It helps with career, it helps with connections, ideas, new music, different point of views, and helps a lot with interpersonal connections and also self-growth. And I think that's all I have to say. And so in the end, I was able to record a full album, but also make a lot of connections. And it's in a really beautiful space. There's mountains surrounding the whole campus. From our windows, you can see the nature. There was deer walking all around campus that were a bit too friendly. Somebody's hand got licked. And then that's it. There was also Lake Louise, that's not too far. It was even more beautiful. Yeah, so I think that's it. I don't know what my future videos will be for the internet. I feel like I've done enough live sessions. I initially had thought about trying to vlog the Banff thing, but I tried for about 10 minutes and it felt like it interfered too much with the moment. So I don't think I can do that, but I can take footage while I'm doing things and then speak about it like this. And I think that's what I'm going to do for the next times also. I have other residencies coming up in different parts of the world. So I think that's what my videos will be. I highly recommend the Banff Center for others. And I would like to say thank you to everyone that participated in this program and the faculty members and all the personnel who organized it so that it would be a positive experience. And there's many people, I will try to not forget any names. Megumi, Jake, Nerida, Anya, Henry, Jill, John, Carla, Kalayson, Christine, Martin, Marie, Ben, Federico, Peichen, Marie-Claude, Amy, Lauren and Kate, Lauren, Artist Kate, Caitlin, Luciane, Dwayne, Sebastian, Mark and Aaron, Kate, Abigail, Bronwyn, Miriam, Priyanka, Anush, Alexis, Older John, Santek John, Hannah, Sarah, Liam, Hugo, Shad, Tuku, Christina, Chantel, and Faith. Have a nice day and see you soon. Bye.